Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Connect to Florida. I started a new painting. Many of you gave me good ideas, and I really liked the flowers idea. And I'm going to do flowers just on their own, but I thought that was a good combination. That is my start. Don't think that's done. It's not. I start in acrylic and then I move to oil. But anyway, just thought I'd leave it up there because it's drying right now. Welcome to Connect to Florida. So today, grab your coffee because we're going to have just an honest chit chat. We're going to talk about the reasons a lot of people end up regretting moving to Florida. Now listen, I'm not saying everybody, don't get your fake account out. Don't do that. I'm not saying everybody. I'm not even saying the predominance of people, but there are a lot of people that leave Florida for these reasons we're going to go over today. And here's the thing. If you are that person, let's say only 1 out of 10 people leaves Florida. If you are that one, then we need to have this discussion because I don't want to have that happen to you. We're also going to talk about things you can do and just kind of things you should think about to avoid it happening to you. Because what I find is that people that buy something and they think it's going to be their dream home and they're super excited about it, and then it doesn't work out and they end up leaving and going to their home state or doing what we a lot of times call half-backing, where you don't want to go all the way back to your cold state, so you try for something kind of in between or different, and usually that looks like Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, sometimes even Texas. So I don't want you to have to double jump. I don't want you to make a bad move on the front end. So we're going to talk about these things and we're going to talk about ways to avoid them. All right, so these bangs are driving me crazy. I got my hair cut. Going for a little bit like Jacqueline Smith. You know, remember Jacqueline Smith with the Charlie's Angels? I know somebody's going to type something mean. Listen, I'm prepared for it. All right, so I digress. Let's talk about the reasons that people many times leave Florida. So I have my notes here. I went through to make sure that I'm hitting all of them for you. So I would say the first reason is that you purchased with a budget in mind. You figured that, okay, you're retiring, you have X amount coming in. When you retire many times, your income is pretty fixed. You know, it isn't like when you're younger and you can take a second job or you can switch jobs or maybe you get bonuses, you're working. When you retire, a lot of times your income is pretty well fixed. So if you made a decision and you really had to kind of cut a corner here, move things around here, but you were able to do it, and then as life progressed, let's say you're 3 years into your purchase, and then what happens? Insurance goes through the roof, and that throws your budget off, but you can handle it. Then your insurance comes and says, well, you know, your roof's 11 years old. We're going to need to inspect it, and we might require you to put a new roof on. Otherwise, we're not going to insure you anymore. So you're thinking, where am I going to come up with the money to put a roof on? We did not account for that. So they drop you and you switch insurance companies. The problem is the next level insurance company is probably going to be even higher than the one that just dropped you. So those kind of fees that have for some people doubled, some people even tripled, that can be really, really significant. The other thing is the flood insurance going higher. Also rezoning of flood zones. So that happened to a lot of people in Fort Myers, where they purposely set out to buy something that was not going to flood, was not in a flood zone, had never seen water. And then after a big hurricane comes through, this happened with Ian, they rezoned all of those floodplains, and your home is in a floodplain, and you've got the insurance that went up and the flood insurance that you now have to take care of. Another thing that people don't really talk about, a lot of times people will discuss the homeowner's insurance, the flood insurance, but the car insurance has gone up significantly. That all lives in the world of bad weather, hurricanes and tropical storms and flooding and things like that. It all lives in that same world. So when your homeowner's insurance, your flood insurance goes up, so if you're insuring a car in Florida and you're anywhere near the coast or you're anywhere near an area that's considered storm surge, anything like that, your car insurance has doubled, maybe even tripled. So for a lot of people, too much. Next one is medical care. I talk about medical care all the time, and I don't know if you're over 65 and you're healthy, still be thinking about this, because this is really, really important. There's going to come a time when you're going to want to see a doctor. There is. Even if it's just a primary care doctor, and hopefully nothing happens where you wind up at the ER. But make sure that you're in an area that has health care that has a good reputation and that you need. So in other words, maybe you have a condition that you manage and it's not a big deal, you manage it fine, but you need these specialists. Make sure there's enough of them, because I use the example electrophysiology. There are so few electrophysiologists for your heart, the electrical rhythm of your heart, if I'm saying that right. Very few of those in the Naples area. So if there's only one or two of them, understand it's going to take you an unbelievable amount of time to get in for an appointment. So I could tell you some horror stories. I will not. I'm just on the periphery of telling you, you really need to be aware of that. So I will just say, because I know that somebody is going to ask this question, where is the better medical care? Do your research. Medical care is specific to you and what your needs are, like I mentioned with the electrophysiologist. But as a whole, I think personally, it's just my opinion and my experience, as you go up north, it gets better. So I think in and around the Sarasota area, I think the healthcare is good. I also think that Lee County Health has made massive improvements. My opinion only, I prefer them to NCH, which is the Naples hospital level. I prefer Lee County, and they have some nice facilities that they've recently built. So in the area of that part of Southwest Florida, those are some good options for you. Another one that is good for things that are kind of major, Tampa General has a good reputation. And then you have some others as you move around the state, like Gainesville has a good reputation. There's a hospital in the center of the state around Orlando that's good, Jacksonville that's good, even over in Miami. Although I will say with Miami, I'm just going to be honest, you do have some language barrier there. If you don't speak Spanish, and you've got some health conditions that you've got confusion, or, think about that. You're going to the hospital. So you're not exactly on your top game. Can we all agree to that? So if you don't speak any Spanish at all and somebody that's taking care of you is struggling with English, that can get frustrating. I'm just being honest. That's just something to think about. All right, and the next one that people leave Florida is the heat is more than they bargained for, especially if you're coming from the Northeast. You get warm weather up there, but it is not in the game of what we get in Florida. It is not even close. So you need to be ready for some serious heat, some serious humidity. It really, for me, it's always the folks that are from the Northeast that have the problems with it at first. So how do you avoid that? It's hot in Florida. How do you avoid that? Listen, just make sure there's a couple things you can do. One, you can live by the coast. You get that nice breeze. And even if you're 2 or 3 miles off the coast, you still get that Gulf breeze that's so nice. So you can do that if that's in your budget. Otherwise, listen, just know that you need to have a good air conditioning system. Don't buy a house where the air conditioning is 10 years old. Don't do that. Make sure that you have your air conditioner, your HVAC system, on a maintenance program. All of the companies in Florida, they offer that, where they'll come out every so often. Like, I would say once a quarter. If you're really sensitive to heat, have people come out once a quarter and just check it. Have it on a maintenance program so you never wind up where you have a problem with your AC. Another thing, and I never hear anybody talk about this, and this happened to me. And listen, I am a lady of a certain age, and menopause is a real thing, and the debilitating heat is a real thing. So I had this exact thing happen. We couldn't figure out, we had our AC on a maintenance system. It was performing perfectly fine, but what we discovered was there was not enough, what is it called? Insulation, the fluffy stuff, up in our attic. So a lot of that cool air, it was just going right out the roof. So there was that. And then also, we do not have impact resistant doors and windows at my house. We have shutters. So we're probably going to have to, at some point in time, spend the money, which it's not going to be cheap. Our bid came in at about $35,000 to get impact resistant doors and windows in the house. So that matters. You don't want to have this great AC like I had, the best. Everybody was telling me it was the absolute top of the line, my air conditioner, yet I was pouring sweat constantly. So those were the problems. Those were the two things that we're attributing to the heat in the house, was the insulation and the windows. So make sure you have those things taken care of. All right, the next reason is it just doesn't feel like home to people. They have this idea in their mind of how they want to live. And when they get to Vacation Florida and Vacation Florida becomes home, it doesn't feel like home, because people forget a lot of what feels like home is seeing the same people at the grocery store, seeing the same people at the deli, knowing that you're going to be invited to the kids' birthday parties and you're going to get together with family and you have friends that you can go to the farmer's market with. Those things might not be in Florida for you. Yes, you will make friends. Yes, you will make friends. But you're going to have a little bit of a learning curve. You're going to have an adjustment curve on that. And you're going to have to put yourself out there to make friends. And you will make friends, because remember, everybody else is doing exactly what you're doing. They also have that sort of awkward, uncomfortable, am I going to make any friends feeling? But just kind of know your Vacation Florida will not feel like living Florida. That's why I always say on this channel, the non-brochure living. Be prepared for that. Know that in the first year, it's going to be a little bit difficult. But if you're committed to the cause, you will adjust to it. But you need to understand that it will not feel the way that it felt in Gloucester, Massachusetts, okay? It will not feel like that. It won't feel like Paducah, where you're coming from. It's going to feel different. All right, the last one, number 5, you bought the wrong thing. You were coming out of a 3,500 square foot 2-story. You're ready to downsize. Your wife and yourself, you retired. The kids are all out of the house. You do not need that big giant house on an acre. So you decide, you kind of overcorrect, and you go to a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo with a view. Listen, you are setting yourself up for a big problem, because you're going to feel like a dog in a cage. It's going to feel small. It's going to feel cramped. You're going to be on that lanai. You're going to be looking at the beautiful water view, but you can't get out there because you're in your little cage on the lanai. Think that through. Don't make that big of a leap. Think that through. Even if you went on vacation and you stayed for a week in Naples and you loved the condo you were staying in, it didn't bother you. If you are bound and determined to make that decision and you really think it's going to work, I would implore you to go rent that condo for 3 months before you sell anything up north before you buy anything in the Southwest, because I promise you it's going to feel different. Now you might say, well, what do? I don't need a big, you know what you could do? Do a villa, do a one-level villa. Those live a lot like a house would. There are some places where you can get a detached villa and then it will really be an easier transition. But a villa lives like a house. Big open floor plan, you can get outside, you can experience the sunshine without being in that little caged in lanai. So I always suggest that if you're coming from a really big house and you're used to rural living and you don't want a single family home, because obviously it would be easy to go from that 3,500 square foot house to maybe a 1,800 square foot ranch home. That works as well. But if you don't want the maintenance and you're planning on traveling in retirement and you want that lock and leave scenario, then think about a villa. There are beautiful villas right now, anywhere from opening price point of around $300,000 that are almost new or new construction, a lot of really good deals, all the way up to X, whatever you want X to be. So that's a good solution to that problem. So those are 5 reasons that people do end up leaving Florida when they think it's going to be the greatest place in the world for them. So think through these things, and if you can think of any more that I didn't mention, feel free to leave it down in comments so that everybody sees that and nobody makes a bad decision.